Hi, my name is Brett Eversole, and this presentation is for Communications 319, Superior Subordinate Communications. In the business world, we are going to run into a situation where we want to stiff in an email and voicemail. We will wait patiently, react to checking our phones and emails and waiting for a response on whether our bid project will be funded or if we have received the bonus that we asked for. But what happens when those return calls or emails never come? The article I have chosen is When Your Voicemails and Emails Go Unanswered, What Should You Do? By Peter Bregman of the Harvard Business Review. Article was published on January 12, 2010. In the article, Bregman describes a situation where there is a guy named Alex who emails his boss and asks for funding for a project that he has come up with. He waits, has return email for weeks and weeks, and he never gets one back. And at that point, he sends a responding email, and he still receives nothing back. And Bregman identifies the situation as one that happens way too often in the business world. He himself says he is guilty of it, and he describes that his brother is a movie executive who receives up to 400 emails a day. And he goes on to ask him how he handles the situation of having all these emails that he needs to respond to and not having time to do so because obviously he's a movie executive and he's really busy. And they go on to describe situations in which they can handle the situation both from a manager standpoint and from the employee that is sent the email or the voicemail standpoint. And I'm going to describe both of those situations and the best course of action in this speech. First, from the employee standpoint. The hypothetical situation is you send a voicemail or an email asking for something to your superior in your company. And you wait to call, you wait to return voicemail, you wait to return email, and it never comes. What do you do? The thing that Bregman suggests is that you do not send a follow-up email because in the example that he gives with his brother, the movie executive, he says that follow-up emails just annoy you and they make you less likely to respond. Even if the situation has become urgent, a sense of time urgency, or one case where he describes it, the employee threatened to leave the company if he did not get a response to his email, and his brother said he just didn't respond because it makes the employee seem petty, and that he did not feel like the situation was as dire as the employee made it sound. The other situation is you await the return voicemail email to the point where you drive yourself convincing, and you never get that call, you never get that return email, but it turns out that maybe your boss didn't get your email or you just overlooked it. And at that point, you're kind of left with a catch-22 because you don't know whether to send a response email, which has already been advised against, or to just leave it alone and pretend like it didn't happen. According to Bregman, the best plan of action is if you don't receive your return after within a week, to send a follow-up, and at that point, to leave it alone. If you don't receive a return voicemail or email from your follow-up, that either means that your emails weren't important enough to your superior for them to respond to, or that your superior is avoiding it in some way, maybe to not be nice and to not reject you, which is not very nice at all, to be honest, because I would rather be told no than to not be told anything at all, or he's not receiving your emails, and then you need to come to him or her in person and do that. In my opinion, if I were going to do something like that, where I'm requesting funding or I'm requesting a bonus or something to that extent, then I'm going to make the presentation in person, and I'm going to leave and not necessarily no choice, but I guess that's kind of the way you have to describe it. I would leave a message voice to give me an answer, either at that time or to make sure that they know that they need to follow up with me so that I know what's going on in the future. um, and that solves all your problems. If your employer is not within your physical distance, say you work from home and you don't ever actually see your superior, then at that point I would call and leave a note for secretary to get a call back. I wouldn't necessarily make my whole pitch through a voicemail or an email because that's very, very impersonal, I feel like. And in order for your full feelings and your full intention to be felt, you need to be talking to that person at least voice to voice, if not face to face. And with technology like how I'm using the webcam now, face to face is a lot easier, even if you're not within the same distance where you can meet physically face to face. You can still use technology and the internet to get your point across. I feel like with leaving voicemails and emails, if you're going to make some sort of presentation where it's important to the future, PowerPoints would be great, and examples, chart graphs, and stuff like that obviously can be put into a voicemail. It could be put into an email, but let's all be honest with ourselves, we don't pay that much attention to our emails, even if they are important. You basically just skim through them to get the main ideas, and then reply or leave them alone and delete them. But for me, I would make it a much more personal thing, so as to show that I care, to show that um, I'm a more personal employee and I care more about the company and my future, so that our our meeting could be face to face. I could get feedback from you, you could get feedback from me, and we could go from there. Um, at that point, you eliminate the problem of not being responded to, and you eliminate the problem that your employer didn't get your voicemail, and you've also eliminated the problem of being alone. And seeing follow up follow up voicemail. So in closing, what Brendan suggested is to either A, leave it alone and give your employer time to respond. If they want to respond, they will. If they don't, then they just chose not to, or they didn't receive it, and that's that. He also suggests that if a situation comes up where maybe you're pitching a project and a rival company gets a hold of your project and they offer you funding for the project, he says it would be great to follow up and follow up so that your employer knows that, hey, we have a competitor that's looking at my project. I would like to work for you. Could you please give me an answer on this? And that creates a sense of urgency so that your employer has to respond, because he says that people respond to urgent emails first and then not so urgent emails when they say what they need to do for the business trip. In my opinion, it's got to be more personal than that if it's a big thing like this. So be personal, be upfront, be honest, and that's the best you can do. Thank you.